Yeah, okay. And can you hear me as well? Yes. Thanks for having me today. And I think that it's great that I follow Suresh because we're going to be talking about, and I think I've spent the last few years trying to unlock different kinds of data and build different kinds of AI models using some of these things, including some of the attempts which were actually done, some of the things that are in the law and justice. One of the things that we actually built was what is known as SUVAS, which is the Supreme Court Vidik Anwad software, which is actually something which translates judgments and orders between different Indian languages, and that is something that we had built as an open source effort. And that's the other part that I think that while I work in many different areas, I do have a passion for doing things in open source. But what I'm going to be talking about today is actually two things. The first thing is we're going to talk about we're going to talk about how collection of data and building things is actually dramatically changing things in Indian language AI technology, and that as a domain. And we'll show some examples of what happens, and it is actually a follow-on to what Suresh said. So therefore, I'm going to be talking a little bit about and showing some small demos about what we are doing in the Indian language space. So therefore, what we did was we said, okay, there's a large amount of language data that lies around in different places. Now, how do I make sure that all this data comes together to build things that are of use? So therefore, and if you look at it from the very same, so that we said, okay, now let's say our domain is language, and we're going to define certain standardized interfaces to create data sets, to check models, and actually in AI to benchmark to see how things work together. So we actually have created this kind of data set, which is basically, and this is what is known as Ulka, and you see it on your screen. And it's really a very simple repository of data, of AI models, and of benchmarks. And this is something that has just been released, but you can see that when you aim for some of these standardizations and unlock data, you can see how fast things can move. So for example, it is already the largest collection of Indian language data for AI in the last like 9 months. In fact, we have like things like, parallel data between multiple Indian languages, which is actually the same sentence talked about in different. Now, this is actually the raw material that AI would use. Or for example, we also have data sets for things like speech recognition. So therefore, we have audio data along with the text that corresponds. So we have collected more than 9,000 hours of that kind of data. Or just if you look at the parallel data set, I can go in and see, because you can try and understand you can try to filter by domain. You can say, okay, so if I go and say, okay, I want to see English and Marathi, I have data which is in the general domain. I have legal domain data. I have news domain data. So yeah, so for collection of data and understanding the data in forms is actually very, very valuable. So therefore, that's one of the things that we've done. But why do you build data? You build data so that you can have models. And literally in the last few months in open source community, we have actually got more than 220 different models created by different institutions, but all of them can work together because they all speak the same language, so to say. So therefore we have 155 translation models which translate text from one language to another. We have 38 speech recognition models which can help you to understand speech, or we have 20 text to speech models which can act. So all of these models have been created by different entities, different universities, different open source enthusiasts. All different kinds of people have put together this. And then, of course, we also have a benchmarking system where you can actually see how good is the model that you've been created. And these are, of course, carefully curated things which actually determine how good something is. So I just wanted to go in and see here, and maybe give you an idea. So for one of the and the interesting thing we did here is that we said, okay, let's take all of these models and let people kind of experience this. And so therefore, we actually created what is known as a speech-to-speech system, where basically you can say that, let's just say that you say something in English, and you want to hear it in Hindi, okay, just for say. And so you can go and now, and the interesting thing is none of these models are actually they're actually created by various different people. And because all the interfaces come together, I can actually take speech in English and convert it to speech in Hindi. And just to say, right, let's just say that uh, let's see. The Railway Minister, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav, inaugurated a train from Delhi to Muzaffarpur. So I said something in English. So let's see whether, we'll see. So it takes maybe 2-3 seconds. So hopefully should end soon. Getting the demograms. So
रेल मंत्री श्री अश्विनी वैष्णव ने दिल्ली से मुजफ्फरपुर तक एक ट्रेन का उद्घाटन किया.
So now I said, okay, maybe that's fine. Let me try and listen to the same thing in Odia. So I won't redo this recording of the speech. Let's see whether I can. So I actually can now take spoken language in any language and actually listen to it in another language. And I think that's the part. And this is done by different people. And we've just put these things together to create a system which does something like this.
रेल मंत्री श्री अश्विनी वैष्णव दिल्ली रु मुजफ्फरपुर पर्यंत एक ट्रेनर शुभारंभ करिसंती.
Or just for kicks, let me do it in Tamil. Okay, so I mean, you get the idea. The idea is that now why is this important in justice, right? I mean, I think that the question was when now we have people who speak all kinds of people. We have so many even internal migrants and things like that. And if you really want to understand what somebody says, right? So therefore, and that's really now.
தில்லியில் இருந்து முசாஃபர்பூர் வரையிலான ரயிலை ரயில்வே அமைச்சர் திரு அஸ்வினி வைஷ்ணவ் தொடங்கி வைத்தார்.
Okay, or let me just say, TK. So let's just say. So let me try and say something which may be more. So आपको मेरी बात माननी पड़ेगी. Oh, sorry, I have to change the language. So let's go from Hindi to say. आपको मेरी बात माननी पड़ेगी. मैंने साइकिल की चोरी नहीं की. Oh, so yeah, that's.
તમારે મારી વાત માનવી પડશે કે મેં સાયકલની ચોરી નથી કરી.
So I think the point about it is that you can so I think that, and that's really language, given India is actually a country of so many languages, actually putting together all of these things. And we're actually at the very beginning of this program. This is a national language translation mission which has actually not even been launched. And already, actually, because of how we put together data and do things, I think we're seeing very interesting results. I'll move forward to the second part. So obviously AI is a very exciting place, and there are all kinds of interesting things that AI can do in the area of justice. So one of the things that an open source effort that I have been involved, and of course Sachin is involved with as well, is that basically we want to try and see how can you take judgments and things like that and extract meaningful information out of it by creating open source creating open source AI models and open source data sets. One of the interesting thing about this app was actually created, the data for this app was actually created by a bunch of law students who actually got together and trained these models, and then and these models are open source models available for anybody to use. So just as an example here, let's just see if I can this give me a second here. Is this up again? So this is actually a judgment which we picked up from India Kanun, and we are just submitting it, and we're going to find out. So a bunch of now it's going to run, and it's generated a whole bunch of things about this judgment. So for example, the preamble, of course, is kind of just an overall understanding of what this case was. And you have a summary where you have the details, the summarization of the facts of the case. And this is what is known as an extractive summary. So it actually looks at the overall judgment and picks out certain important parts of the judgment and puts it out there. You look at the arguments which were actually used. So you have actually kind of categorized issues that is involved. The analysis, which is normally one of the bigger parts about what were the precedents relied on and various things in the case. And then finally, you can get the details of the decision. Now, in addition to that, you could also kind of look at the original judgment itself, and it can basically highlight to you what each line in the judgment actually corresponds to. For example, this line in pink here is actually an argument which is made by the petitioner. So we're actually able to take the entire, or for example, we have this thing which goes, this thing in orange here is a set of facts. So therefore, we've taken every line in the judgment and categorized it into a particular kind of rhetorical role. And then we've taken those rhetorical roles and actually created automatic summaries for judgments. This is early. I mean, I think that how well it works is something that over time will improve. But it gives you an idea that how you can actually use AI to actually take and understand and get structured understanding of what happens in judgments. Or for example, let me just take one thing that we can also automatically identify all the entities. You can see that, for example, this is the petitioner, or for example, you understand these are the lawyers, or in this thing, you can understand that this is an organization, or this is a provision, or this is a statute. So you can actually identify all the entities automatically that are involved with respect to this particular with this judgment. So therefore, and we want to do it as open source because over time it needs to improve, and we want to get everybody involved and people to use it and actually make it better. And I think that what we are saying is that there is both enough data sets, and the AI technology has moved to a level where actually building these kinds of things in open source where everybody can actually see what's happening is actually a very powerful way of better understanding how some of these things work in space. So I will stop. I think I've probably gone beyond my time. I will stop and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Vivek.